Well, good morning, everyone. I just pressed record. This is Alex Wilson, the CEO of Precious Timber. Calls will continue to come in, I'm sure, over the next few minutes. Just a little idea that I had a couple of weeks ago, maybe once or twice a month on a Friday, we're going to open up the telephone lines. We're going to allow, all kinds of questions, all kinds of comments, all kinds of insights within the hour. We're going to have clients on the call. We're going to have interested individuals that are studying this space and would like to get some information. Today we have our U.S. SEC attorney, Dwight Williams. We have hopefully Kevin Bird, our client liaison manager, here on the call.
I'm here.
Kevin, yep. Sergio Corrales, our attorney in Nicaragua. I think we have Scott Thompson, who's a financial planner, on the call too. Scott, are you there?
I'm on. Yes, I am. I'm on.
Good. Alan Romero, the CEO of Terra Fort, he's on the call today. Thanks for joining us, Alan.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So I'm going to start off and then just a couple of little rules here on the call. If you'd like to comment, if you'd like to ask a question, please just give us your name prior to say, hey, this is Joe. I'm in such and such a state or such and such a part of the world. I have a question, and fire away, and we'll go from there. So I'm just basically going to start off by saying welcome, everyone, and thank you for taking a few minutes of your day to get on the call. Obviously, this space, this agricultural space that we've been talking about now for close to 14 years, isn't that familiar with every investor. It is familiar, very familiar with those in the higher net worth range, and especially institutions and endowments. In fact, many of those portfolios are mandated to have a certain percentage of their assets in agriculture. And so our company is centered around three principles, if you will. Obviously, we're a for-profit company, but we also attach to that the strong sort of desire to impact and real meaningful impact in the lives of the individuals that work in the regions that we operate in, and also the protection of the soils and the environment at large, particularly the wildlife corridors. We do work in a part of the world that has had tremendous forest devastation, clear cutting, and what have you. So we're going to just basically touch on the space with regards to an educational point of view. When someone contacts us, we're not in the selling business, even though we do collect and welcome clients, individual clients that want to be in the space. But it's not our operation is not an office full of people on the telephone trying to convince someone, whether it's against their will or otherwise, that this is something that they should purchase. We're more focused on just educating, trying to get the information to someone that's trying to do a due diligence, trying to research and ascertain whether or not this would be the right thing. And we're pretty strong on coming, visiting the location. I just heard Scott and Dwight talking prior to the call about their recent visit. So let me start off with Dwight Williams and ask Dwight a question or two. Dwight is our U.S. SEC attorney that put together the offering for Terra Fort. We have a triple blended fund that includes coffee, coconuts, and timber. So, Dwight, why don't you share with us your take on the recent trip that you had?
Sure. Well, I've been to a lot of countries, and I would not have gone to Nicaragua if I hadn't been working with you all on your timber projects. But I must say that my expectations, I was quite well informed theoretically because I had to be in connection with our interaction over the last 2+ years. But my expectations were way exceeded in a positive sense. And it's a beautiful place. Of course, you all take care of things down there, but I would recommend that anyone, whether they invest or just want to see a world-class operation, take advantage of a trip down there if they're invited. Right before you came on, Scott and I believe it's Richard from Louisville, we're talking, and Richard asked me my opinion on the political situation, and I started answering it by saying, well, I was surprised when you brought me up to speed, Alex, a couple of years ago, because my residual knowledge of the political situation in Nicaragua went back to the era of the Iran-Contras and Somoza and, and all of the turmoil that happened. But, of course, Daniel Ortega took over and stabilized things. What most Americans don't know is that as soon as he solidified his influence, he recognized the only way he's going to help his people and be able to deliver on his political promises was to make Nicaragua a stable country, impose the rule of law, and in particular provide incentives and protections for foreign investors. And I was about to answer the question beyond that, saying that your local attorney, Sergio Corrales, is really the person that I'll be answering that question. He brought us in great detail up to speed, although I was already comfortable. His historical timeline was really good. So unless you have other questions of me, I think we ought to have Sergio finish the response to that question so that Richard will have the knowledge that he was seeking.
Absolutely. Sergio, are you on the call this morning? I know Sergio had sent me an email several minutes before the call. I think he had his time schedules kind of discombobulated. I've sent him a reply email, so we'll try and get Sergio back on the call.
Okay, I had the impression he was on. I know he was invited.
Yes.
Other questions you or anyone has of me?
Yeah, so if there's anyone that has a question for our legal representatives, Dwight Williams, just go ahead.
Hi, Alex?
Yes.
This is Roland. I'm calling from Arizona.
Nice to meet you, Roland.
Nice to meet you. My understanding in Nicaragua, I can purchase the land without an LLC. Is that correct?
Correct. Real estate in Nicaragua is available to any foreign national, foreign individual with the same laws that the Nicaraguans are exposed to. So you can own it any way you want. You can own it in your name. You can own it in a trust. You can own it in a U.S. LLC or a U.S. corporation, in a foreign LLC or foreign corporation, in an IRA. So there's no real restriction on the way that you hold title.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking of doing it through the self-directed IRA.
Yep, we have a lot of clients that do it that way too.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, let me add on to that answer the technical standpoint. Obviously, I'm not a Nicaraguan law expert, but Sergio is. And he handles the recordings and all of the technical details. Depending on how you take title, Sergio will let you know the easiest and quickest way to do that.
Do you want to listen to this?
Pardon? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Any kind of entity, Nicaraguan or non-Nicaraguan, is able to hold real property. There are some recording and recognition details. I'm handling something for an Italian deal, not a Nicaraguan right now, and wherever there is a U.S. document, it has to be made official under the Hague Treaty that recognizes foreign documents, and so you have to add a document that your state government will issue called an apostille, and that has to go on a U.S. document so that it will be recognized. That applies in Nicaragua, it applies in most civilized countries. So some ways take fewer steps than others, but you're entitled to do it. In other words, you don't have to have Nicaraguan law wag the dog. It's something that Sergio is very experienced and can walk you through the optimal way, and then you can make your own decision how to hold something.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that.
Scott, can I turn to you? Scott, why don't you, if you would, please tell us your profession, and Scott Thomas from Nashville just visited Nicaragua for the first time, and maybe give us your take on what you experienced, Scott.
Alex, thank you. I'm an independent investment advisor in RIA here in Nashville. We work with wealthy families in the area, individuals and institutions. As an advisor, we structure our asset allocations accordingly. So I'll use an example of a $2 million portfolio of investable assets. I'd allocate up to a 60-40, 40% being in alternative investments. And so when you look at Latin American agriculture and you look at the benchmarks, the NAREIT on precious timber, tracking that back to 1900, it beats out the S&P 500 at somewhere around 15% over long-term returns. It's always gone up. So being an uncorrelated diversifier, it's very attractive. So with the analytical inputs as a certified alternative investment analyst, so we'll do the research and then we'll begin to narrow it down as an independent advisor. So our clients pay us directly for that research, so we're very, very objective. So when we visit a potential investment for our clients, we'll always do our manager due diligence, and the trip that we just recently got back was, I have to agree with Dwight, whatever expectations I had, they were highly exceeded. The first thing I want to say is the heart of the team, the Precious Timber team. It comes out right away, so it's a very, as Alex mentioned the other day, we were on the phone, it's very uplifting. We look for that. Social responsible investing certainly applies here, but the returns are fantastic. So the precious timber, the coconuts, and the other agricultural opportunities, if I was just to say a buy rating on it, I would have a strong buy. I'll be putting out a video on an analysis and some of my thoughts and how they apply. You can see some of the indexes and what they look like. That's what we look at first on the quantitative side, and then once we're settled with that, then we'll customize that for our clients in a proper allocation. So that's really, I do a lot of casework, case management, so a lot of my clients, I'm digging in, we do research, and then, of course, we have, I do the trades and that sort of deal, but that's the life of me. It's we have a great team here in Nashville, and it's such a delight to meet Alex and Ken Ross and the team and Alon, and we have looked at the Terrafort Fund in detail. I do have some questions, and I know they'll get them to me. Sergio was a delight. I hope he's been able to get on the phone call to answer any of the local questions there. The people, first time to Nicaragua, for me as well. But the beauty of that area, region down towards the Costa Rica, you'll have to pinpoint and see where all that is, and the biodiversity is fabulous. So everything's been accounted for. And I'll say one other thing and yield my time, but the nurturing and the process, the forestry engineers, all that accounts for part of our due diligence for our clients. So we highly impressed the staff, the team, and the heart, and the returns are fantastic. They fit well. Fell in love with coconuts. We always like precious timber. That was spectacular. But the coconuts and the nurturing from the process is very detailed. So to be able to look over the countryside of Nicaragua, see into the people's faces, and see the beauty of the coconuts and the windmills and what the infrastructure is like. So in the United States, we have Highway 70, for example. We don't, in Nicaragua, they don't have the big shoulders that we do here, the nice infrastructure, but it is striped and nice asphalt, transportation. So we look at all that, and it's all checked off. So yes, I'm a strong buyer. We are going to be allocating capital, so we're excited. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you very much, Scott. If anyone has a question, just give us your name and fire away with your question.
Alex, this is Roland in Arizona again.
Yes, Roland.
I was wondering, how long will parcels be available for sale? Will they sell out in the next year, 2 years, 5 years? Any projection on that?
Yes, Roland, thank you. So the question is the availability of parcels. Each year, Roland, we plant each and every year. We're planting this year a couple of thousand acres with timber, another area of coconuts, and this year we're moving into the coffee business. And so generally speaking, 25% of what we plant is made available for private individual ownership. The rest is held corporately. Our planting season just started. We have a period between June and maybe as late as October to plant. Excuse me. And reservations between those months are pretty brisk. A lot of people that find us do the right thing. They take their time. They do their study. They do their due diligence. They make sure that it fits. So at any given time, Roland, there's a good number of people taking a look. It doesn't fit for every portfolio. We kind of are big on making sure that we express that if it does fit for you, and you fit for us, because this is a long-term relationship that's going to be formed, then obviously we'll do our best to accommodate a reservation. But every year there are parcels available. They generally do sell out around about the October time, and then we still take reservations. But after October, generally reservations are for the next year's planting.
I see. And that planting, do you think it's going to go on for how many years?
Well, the company is set up obviously for generational sort of passage. We did get a call. Nothing has happened yet, but we did get a call from Harvard Management Company 2 weeks ago. They had heard about what we've been doing in the country. They heard about us through the U.S. Embassy in Managua, and so we've taken a call from them, and they're already invested in Nicaragua, both in timber and in cattle. And of course, Harvard and the other large endowments and institutions are invested in this space globally, not just in Central America. So they did mention that they were interested in a strategic partnership. They're looking for other management operations such as ours in Nicaragua. So we haven't set a date for them to come and visit us. If that should happen, and if they decide to work with us. That may change the makeup of us taking on individual clients, depending upon, of course, the investment amount that someone like that might end up working with us.
Sure, I see.
On the phone, do we have one of our recent visitors, Pablo?
Yes, hi, good morning. I'm on the phone.
How are you today?
I'm doing awesome. Just right here at my office, shooting out some emails and at the same time joining you guys in the conference call.
Well, if you would, we would appreciate your comments.
I think Scott covered, without being redundant, I think Scott covered everything. I was really impressed. I mean, the three things that stand out is, for me, was just the well-being of the workers, the treatment of the environment, and then you guys, the dedication and the persons that you are. I think those three things were the most important things for me that I took note. And I like I had mentioned when I was over there, I had to locals and check things out and see how things are going, and everything was in terms of safety and everything that's going on in Nicaragua. I just felt totally safe. People were friendly, catered to us, and it was just a great experience. Nothing what I expected, to be quite honest.
Well, I know you had a good time. It seems like it's difficult not to have a good time, especially for someone coming down the first time, and in particular when they're bringing their spouses. I know many times we'll hear maybe husbands saying, "I'm going to go down and check it out," and the wives are saying, "Well, I don't know whether I want to go." And of course, the last thing they say when they bid their spouse off, be safe. And one thing
that's exactly what happened to me. Everyone was like, be safe. The funny thing, I was talking to some banker that yesterday, and he was asking me about the trip, and he's like, "Oh, now that you're back, do you appreciate what we have here in the U.S.?" And I'm like, you know what? I'm not really sure about what we have over here, because I mean, money and certain things are okay, but lifestyle and there's other things that are important just as well. So I couldn't agree with him, and I found myself not being able to agree with, we have it, the best over here. So it really shifted that in my mind.
Yes, I remember when we had a couple down a couple of years ago, and the wife said, "It's funny, Alex, we have a very high standard of living in the U.S., but Nicaragua has a better quality of life."
Yes.
And of course, safety is huge in Nicaragua. It's the World Bank and the IMF have rated Nicaragua many times over the last 4 or 5 years as the safest of all Latin American countries. Not just for traveling and enjoying, but also for business and for living there.
Yeah, when I was with my taxi driver, he was like, it was surprising to see that he was telling me how he got pulled over for speeding, and that they respect the laws. They're nervous about the police enforcement and all that, and I found that pretty good, because that's law and order is important for a place where you're going to be investing. So I found that pretty well. So those are little experiences where I took off on my own and got to experience that. That was pretty great, I think, for myself.
Great.
And then also the what I noticed, like by day 2, when because I started my journey in Costa Rica, right? And the thing I noticed right away was just within my own system, my own body, just all the foods I was eating were just so fresh and organic, like everywhere. Like the first thing I actually did when I got off the plane was we're traveling to Tamarindo, right? And we pulled some farmer was milking some cows, and we pulled over, and he gave us a cup of milk right from the cows, and we downed them, and it was like, wow, this is so great.
Crazy. Well, thanks, Pablo. I heard a couple of beeps, so there's a few people on the line. If there's anyone that has a question, please give us your name, where you're from, and ask your question.
Alex, I actually have a question myself. I mean, one of the main concerns I have, or I mean, not concerns, but one of the things I've been thinking about is, in terms of the government, how long have you guys owned property out there, and should we be concerned later on in the future that there might be change in government or instability that may cause or affect the investments out there? And what are your thoughts on that?
Okay. I'm going to see if Sergio's joined us, or Ken. Is Ken on the line, or Sergio on the line? Okay. Maybe sometimes the connections that they have there are a little iffy. So let me address that. We started purchasing property in 2001, and literally we purchased hundreds and hundreds of properties, and never had any issues at all with title transfers. If you conduct and hire a local attorney to do a thorough title search, make sure that there's no liens or encumbrances and issues that are clouding the title. The process is relatively smooth. We've, as I said, not had any concerns whatsoever. With regards to your question in the government, of course, Nicaragua is a democratic republic today where they have general elections, just like most civilized and places do. And so the government will change when the voters decide that it's time to have someone else in. I don't see Nicaragua ever going back to the Somoza days. Remember, the Somoza days were funded by Washington. And I can joke about this because I'm a Brit. The Americans kicked the Brits out and formed their constitution and what have you, even though the first people to come across on the Mayflower and what have you were trying to escape all of the taxation and things in England. But Nicaragua's story is kind of fascinating in as much as imperialism has held Nicaragua and ruled Nicaragua through the French and then the Spanish and then the Americans for hundreds of years. The Somozas were the most recent ones before the Sandinistas, and the Somozas were highly funded and highly backed by Washington, D.C., and it was a military-backed dictatorship. And the Nicaraguan young in the early 70s formed the Sandinistas and overthrew that government, and then of course the U.S. worked with Nicaragua in the mid-80s to form the Constitution. In fact, it was President Carter that went out and helped them write the whole thing. And then since 1989, so it's almost 30 years now, they've had open elections. So the population is so educated today, 98% literate, 70+% younger than 40. So they're very, very capitalistic in their society. Business is booming. Tourism is booming. Foreign investment is exploding. So I just can't see them ever. They've had a taste now of what it's like to enjoy success. You just can't imagine that would not continue. It's covered wagon time. Imagine living in a country like that that's as large as New York State, that are doing things for the very first time. Our growth here was, maybe in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. Singapore just went through a huge growth the last 35 years, and I think in the next 35, 50 years, we're going to see Nicaragua do tremendous things. So I don't ever envision them not being free like they are, and enjoying the things that us Westerners have enjoyed for a long time. Alan Romero, are you on the call?
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
Why don't you share with us, if you will, unless there's a question that you may have or someone else may have, but maybe share how you learned about this space and what was it that caused you to join?
Absolutely. So I wanted to share with the group and also with you, Alex, because we haven't had an opportunity to talk since we saw each other last week in Nicaragua. I am returning from a multiple country trip, which you partook in, which was Nicaragua. We went all the way down to Ecuador. I ended up visiting El Salvador and Guatemala, and I'm right now in Mexico. And I know that you've traveled quite a bit, Alex. I know that Dwight has traveled quite a bit, and that really gives perspective. So this multi-Latin American country trip that I'm completing right now is really giving me a different perspective beyond what the literature, what the information can give you. I'm an economist by training out of the University of California. I'm a real estate developer, real estate broker. I've been in finance. I've been in different areas of real estate in California. And I, right now, the way that I'm looking at Nicaragua in very simple terms, it's the land of opportunity. Some of the things that you notice, just on a personal level, for instance, like what Pablo was saying, the way that cattle is raised down there is still free range, green pastures. The meat is delicious. I was looking into, and no wonder why Harvard is investing in cattle, and it's because Nicaragua is exporting cattle all over the world. There is a video that we have at Precious Timber that highlights the industry, the tax incentives that the country is providing for foreign investment, for large operations that are already down there. And again, just beyond what the literature and the research that I have done has yielded, just this wonderful opportunity to have traveled and gotten to see what the different economies of different countries have evolved and are evolving. There is no doubt when you look at that how Nicaragua is the frontier. And we're very lucky to be part of that. One of the things that I would like to say to everyone, anyone who is interested in the space, is that you need to get down there. You need to see this for yourself. There's only so much that reading and research and due diligence, can do for you to form your opinion of things. I met Alex about a year ago, and I was very impressed with what he had to say, because from an economic perspective and from a finance perspective, everything that he was saying made so much sense. And now that he, not only that, but his personal philosophy of capital preservation and preserving the family capital, right? Family's wealth, and how that's played over the years and over generations. And he shared with me some very interesting reading material. I like his philosophy of life. I like his philosophy in business. I like the business model and the environment in Nicaragua. I like the returns that are very clear. It's very clear to see the return on investment in very simple. When you plant a tree, you start with a seed. As the market crashes, the tree keeps growing. And the growth is exponential. It's biological growth. Right? The tree keeps growing at its own pace. The land in Nicaragua, the conditions, the weather, the soil are rich. And so what you get is healthy, strong, valuable timber that grows faster than probably anywhere else in the world, and it's easy to see with the amount of water that they have there. Where we're planting, we're right next to the 6th largest aquifer in the world. So obviously I have a passion for what we're doing, and as a result of that, I decided I listened to what Alex was saying, and I thought that there would be a great opportunity in us collectively forming fund, an agricultural blended, diversified fund that is going to give our investors the opportunity not only to invest in Nicaragua, but also to invest in different countries, diversify, among crops, diversify among regions. And it's, I look forward to this the way that I see it in my life is I see it as a life project, because obviously this is a multi-generational type of business. And I can't speak highly enough of what I've seen, of what I've experienced, and I look forward to a bright future.
Thank you, Alan. That was once again very, very useful to the call and the discussion today. We are talking about precious timber. We're talking about Nicaragua. We're talking about agriculture. If you're new on the call and have a question, please give us your name and where you're calling from and ask your question.
Gary Mountain.
Hi, Gary.
And hi, I'm chiming in. When you talk about precious timber, what exact timber are you growing?
We're in the hardwood. We're in the exotic hardwood arena. Our three primary species, for reasons that I'll share in just a second, are African and Pacific mahogany trees, cedar. In Nicaragua, we have something called spiny cedar, and teak. Those are our three primary, but we grow a lot of other ones too. We grow a lot of oak. We grow a lot of cocobolo. We grow a lot of local species, but not softwoods. We're not in the pine or the Douglas or fir or anything that ends up as 2x4s or plywood or pulp or paper. This is the exotic side of the business. Things that end up, of course, as beautiful furniture, interior flooring, or features like exposed beams, doors, door frames, paneling. We're doing a lot of high-end wall coverings. There's very artistic wall coverings today. So we're in that side of the business. And I mentioned why. Partly because of the geographical region. These are all local species. They're native to the area. But also, we grow those three in particular because they are in such high demand globally. Many people don't understand that just here in the U.S., that each individual person uses the equivalent of one 100-foot log each and every year. So you can extrapolate that, 330-plus million trees per year are harvested just for U.S. purposes usage. But around the world now we have, of course, 7-8 billion people almost. And that's obviously going to increase as population gets larger and larger. And, we're not going to be, the demand on natural timber is not going to decrease. I mean, I know they keep coming up with all these different sort of composite materials, but people love wooden flooring. They like a nice wooden desk. They like, things made out of wood. So it's not going to change. The demand for these particular species that we grow is high, but the supply, because of clear cutting and illegal logging and all kinds of things over the last 50 years, have caused these to be in not short supply, but in strained supply. So consequently, the value of this lumber continues to stay steady. In fact, some of you that have maybe done a little bit of research on timber as an asset class, not just as a commodity. Obviously, it does very well during good times. I'm talking that the ROI return does very well during good times. If you take a look at the NCREIF Timberland Index, which tracks the U.S. and North American timber, which is mainly softwoods, you'll see that the NCREIF Index, since its inception in 1982, has outperformed all other asset classes. It's averaged approximately 14.5% a year. One of the things that you don't get, of course, in timber is crashes in the price. Maybe there's fluctuation in the value of lumber, especially in the softwood side when building starts. New housing starts are less, like in 2008. But in 2008, timber prices, timber went up 9%, and the stock market fell 37%. So it's a stable place for investing, and that's why we've had a little bit of a discussion on the phone today talking about why the high net worth individual, why the super wealthy and the institutions and the endowments hold so much timber. In fact, across the world, most timber is not government owned. Most of the forests that you see when you're driving around the world are owned by individual families. Three of the main people here in the U.S. that own more timber than anybody else: John Malone from Comcast, Ted Turner from Turner Broadcasting, and Jeff Bezos from Amazon. None of them made their money in timber. But when you become a billionaire, you look at investing very, very differently. If you have $1 billion net worth, maybe your focus is more on loss avoidance, risk mitigation, as opposed to trying to figure out the next IPO and you're trying to speculate. Of course, the larger your wealth too, you're not interested in so much liquidity. You actually want to earn the illiquidity premium. And the premium is an added return that you get when you hold assets that are a little less liquid.
Excuse me a second. Somebody
has a perfect asset for that.
Somebody is kind of like doing something in the background that is completely drowning your speech out.
Yeah, I heard that too, and thank you for mentioning that. If you are on the call and you can be mindful of the background noise, that really does sort of affect the call. So if you wouldn't mind, try to keep the lines clear. So any other questions?
Yeah. When you talk about teak and mahogany, my relatively limited experience is that these trees can take 30 to 50 to 60 years to mature enough to be harvested as lumber. So how do you, when you put out money to invest in something like this, how do you get a rate of return? Because you're talking 50 or 60 years from now?
You're 100% right. Here in North America, those things can take a long, long time. In Central and South America, because of the natural sort of climate, the growing cycle is greatly reduced. For example, on a African mahogany tree that we plant, now there's various times, of course, for harvesting. We have what we call an optimal size. It's not really the age of the tree that we look at, it's the size of the log. Lumber is sold by the board foot. Logs are calculated by size. The way you calculate the amount of board foot in a log is you measure the diameter at breast height, and then you measure the size of the log from the ground up all the way to the top of the tree, and then there's a calculation that dictates and determines how much lumber is in. For us, our optimal size is 18 inches in diameter, a 24-foot log, and that houses 190 board feet of lumber at an average of $2.50 rough sawn lumber in Nicaragua, which is about 1/10 of the cost of it would sell for here in the U.S. It would be $25 a board foot here, and it's $2.50 there. You can see you have almost a $500 tree, which may have cost you $50 to own the land, have someone care for the tree, so $50 in and $500 out. But what's the time frame? What's the question? In Nicaragua, and in Costa Rica, and in Panama, and in Ecuador, these things grow at a fraction of that time frame. On average, 15 years. Some can do it in less, 12, we've harvested trees in as short as 12 years from planting that are at that size. On the outside, maybe 18. The teak tree takes a little bit longer. Teak tree might take 20 years, 25 if it's a slow-growing one. But on average, the species that we are growing, and remember, we're a reforestation, a sustainable, managed reforestation company, and the regions that we plant, all of our certifications are in place, and so we're harvesting continually. But with regards to time frame, if you take 15 years as an average, then you can extrapolate the ROI on that, and you'll see that it is exceptionally high. It's well into the 20-plus range on an annualized basis. But it's not for owning trees is not for someone that wants to buy something on, in December and cash it out 2 years from now. You just won't get the ROI, and it's pointless cutting down a 2-year-old tree. Obviously, there's other assets in the agricultural space that are best fit someone that wants income, like our coconut program or coffee program. But timber is a long-term play. Really, you should not be investing in timber unless it's being held in the portfolio. Obviously, a lot of our clients are doing it for generational purposes. But good question. Sergio, did you get on the call?
Yes, I did, Alex. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I was a little bit late.
No problem. We appreciate that. This is Sergio Corrales. He is our primary attorney in Nicaragua. We had a question, Sergio, and we thought that you could probably answer it. Dwight did a fantastic job, but the question was regarding the political stability in the country. If you could just quickly touch on, the numbers of foreign investors, the billions of dollars that are coming and flooding into Nicaragua and have been now for quite some time. Obviously, these businessmen and these individual investors are not investing in Nicaragua without doing a lot of research on the political climate. If you could comment on that, we would appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you very much. Well, the first thing that I need to say is that I am an attorney, and I am 100% Nicaraguan, born and raised. Nicaragua, despite our fame, is right now a very, very stable country. We have had the same government for the last, it's going to be 10 years soon, and the level of acceptance, even though it is not the government that I voted for, is in the 60s and 70s, percentage-wise. There is an alliance between the private sector and the central government that is allowing for the growth that we have had for the last, I would say, 7 to 8 years, which has been over 4% and up to 5 and 5.5%. For the last, as I said, 7 to 8 years. The relationship that the private sector has with the government is such that there are committees created between the government and the private sector for each sector of the economy to work on shortening the number of requirements to do business, the number of days that any permit, any request made to the government takes, and this has caused a great amount of investment that's without precedent for the country. I am trying to get the numbers right now, but I guess what's really most important is that this is what I said is what has happened in the near past. But actually, if you look into the future, you'll see that that in Nicaragua there is very little opposition to the government because of many factors. So it doesn't look like there's going to be any change anytime soon. I would say at least in the next 15 to 20 years, we're going to enjoy the stability that we have at the moment.
Thank you, Sergio. If you're on the call and you have a question, please just give us your name and where you're from and ask your question, and we will take any kind of question.
Yeah, this is Gary Mountain again. Sergio, what is the name of the committee that is working with you in the agricultural side and the government in Nicaragua?
Well, the committee doesn't have a name per se. As I said, there is a federation of chambers where you will find the Chamber of Commerce, Chamber of Industry, Chamber of Construction, of Tourism, of Agriculture, and each one has its own committee with the governmental agencies that are related to that specific sector of the government. So in the one, I participate in two. I participate in the agricultural and the tourism area, and you will find that there is a member of the Office of the President, one member of the Tax Office, one member of the Customs Office. The municipalities are also represented in that committee from the government, the Ministry of Tourism on the tourism side, the Ministry of Agriculture on the Agriculture Committee. So you have all the government agencies that have to do with a specific sector of the economy are represented.
Sergio, if you could mention quickly, because some of the calls that we've been receiving recently have not been not just about agriculture, they've been about moving to Nicaragua. Now we have probably almost 10,000 American citizens that have moved to Nicaragua, permanent residences. They've gone there for a multitude of reasons, just like they did earlier in Costa Rica, a little more recently in Panama and Belize. Now Nicaragua is, of course, we all know if you've been doing your study, the safest of all the Latin American countries when it comes to traveling as a tourist, living as an individual, and of course the business sector. It's kind of strange that Nicaragua has been able to attain that label. But I know there was a lot of work done with your law firm with regards to the just general real estate side of things for us foreign owners, especially those of us that were developing property, the Foreign Real Estate Association, the Foreign Owner Real Estate Association. You were very involved in that. If you could just sort of talk about real estate and how Nicaragua is very, very detailed in its approach with ownership laws.
Sure. So our legal system it's a different legal system than the one in the U.S. So the first thing that I need to say is that contracts are stronger in civil law system, which is what we have. We did have issues with owning property in Nicaragua during the late 80s and early 90s, but since then there has been a united front of all the political parties of the country, and since the early 90s a lot of laws were issued, and the property issue is pretty clear now. We have a system of registration of titles that has one register per province, and that's where you would do a due diligence on a title of a property that you want to acquire. You can take title in Nicaragua however you would like to. You can do it individually as non-resident foreign. You can do it as a foreign resident. You can take title with a Nicaraguan entity like a Sociedad Anónima, which is something like a corporation, or you can do it with a foreign entity, be it a corporation, an LLC, an IRA, a trust. You can basically take title however you want. There is one small exception, and that is on a strip of 5 kilometers along each border with Honduras and Costa Rica, where foreigners cannot own land. But other than that, foreigners have the same rights as Nicaraguans, and property is respected and protected. Obviously, we always recommend doing a due diligence prior to buying something, and doing also a due diligence after you have purchased the property to make sure if you're not going to be on the property, that there is someone looking out for it. The process of purchasing a property takes about 20 to 30 days to allow time for the preparation of all documents that need to be signed, and also the funds to be wired. And after closing, the registration process takes a few months because of our legal system. There are offices that where you need to take the documents. Attorneys, we take care of all the process, from due diligence to giving our clients a registered title.
Thank you, Sergio. I don't know where we're getting. I don't know whether you can hear this double beep that's on there. I don't know what that is. It's kind of annoying. Are there any other questions before we kind of wrap this up? It is a 1-hour call, so we're going to open it up for a few more questions if anyone has one.
Hi, Alex. Roland again. One question about the tours. I spoke with Kevin. I think there's tours scheduled this month. I think they've happened already. And then July, August, and September. Are there tours in the other months, like after September?
Yes, there'll be tours all the way now, each month, all the way through November. We will not do a tour in December. Nicaragua has many, many tourists. That's the height of a very busy season, and they triple the price of everything, so we don't do tours in December, but we'll do one in January and February too, and then we take a break March and April, then we start up again in May. But generally, Roland, every month, or 2 or 3 months, we do have tours.
Okay. And then you said that typically reservations for individuals start about now, and then they usually sell out by around October.
Yes, absolutely. We generally are fully reserved by about October for that particular season that we're planting, and then reservations immediately open up for the following season.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That's on the land ownership side. On our triple blended fund, that will be open until it's fully funded.
Okay. How long will it take to fully fund that triple blended diversified fund?
It's a $20 million fund. We just opened it. We're expecting that to be done in about a 6-month period of time. Obviously, that could change because we do have a couple of individuals, one Chinese group actually that's going to be coming down soon. But that could change. But we've kind of thought that 6 months would probably be the time frame on that.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Is there a chance that I could ask for Sergio's phone number and talk to him outside of the call?
Absolutely. If you give us a call at our toll-free number, which is 855-888-6288, or just go on our website. Give us a call and we'll definitely get you Sergio's number. He's a great asset to us and a great asset to the country, and certainly will answer any question legal that pertains to the legal side of things.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have a question before we close up the call?
When coconuts are planted, they probably have a lifespan similar to what you were talking about on the teak when you told me they were like 20 to 25 year time. Does coconut trees become a hardwood that you use?
Okay, great question. The coconut tree starts producing nuts in year 4. It produces for another 60 years, and then it starts to taper off its production and will go for probably another 5 or 10 years. So at about year 65 or 70, so way beyond any of our our lifespans here on the phone. That's why coconuts are a real, for me, I call it an agricultural annuity. If you look at traditional annuities and compare it to owning coconuts, for me, I'm all in on coconuts because I want to, when I pass away, I don't want my annuity to just pay out and be done. I want it to continue on. But yes, once the tree is non-productive, it's a very valuable log, very valuable wood, and so it would be turned into lumber. But the tree has a long productive life, and it's an exceptionally high-producing, annually paying commodity. So we have lots of information on that. We'd be glad to share with you because it's kind of a rapidly growing commodity, as you probably know, across the world today.
Okay.
All right. Well, we appreciate everyone's time. If you have anything else that you want to take a research at, our website is PreciousTimber.com. But the best thing I always find is to get on the phone and spend some time together, ask you questions, and then after that, if it's still intriguing, jump on the plane and come and have a fun experience in the tropics and get to see things up close and personal. So we appreciate your time. Have yourself a great day, and for all the dads on the phone, call. Have a happy Father's Day this weekend. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye.